Right now, here's Matthew Cappucci to talk weather.
Hey, good morning, gang. Glad look outside over National Harbor right now shows a Capitol wheel is sitting there. It's changing colors. It's spinning. We have some low clouds, some mist in place. But one really cool thing, last night I got a flurry of tweets from people who said they were hearing music. And it turns out there's a concert at RFK Stadium. But far and wide, miles away, folks could hear the sound of those songs. So why was that a thing? Well, it turns out we had something called an inversion. People, of course, took to social media. They wanted to know why they could hear the sound so far away. An inversion is an increase in air temperature with height, meaning the surface is usually a little bit cooler. Above, you have a layer of warm air, so warm air is being pumped into the region right now, and that allows like a ceiling for any sound to bounce up and off of and kind of ricochet between the cloud, or rather that inversion, and the ground. Now, we can see this pretty well when we take a look at the 8 p.m. weather balloon launch from Dulles Airport last night, and you'll notice temperature is a line on the right. So we had easterly winds at the surface, this little barb right here, so it's cool right by ground level, and then just above, a little layer of warmth, there's that little ceiling for the sound to bounce off of. Right now, winds are light out of the east at about 4 or 5 miles per hour. Nothing much going on, but temperatures are responding accordingly with southerly winds at the mid-levels. So
carry on. We're having a little discussion over here.
I'm starving, but
this is for Matthew too.
Yeah.
Fun fact, we're talking about smells and candles and stuff. Lightning actually has a smell. It's the ozone produced by the lightning. Same smell you get when you open up the dryer and you have little sparks. That actually generates ozone. Yeah, and the human nose is extremely sensitive to it. So you can smell the equivalent of about 3 teaspoons in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So,
what?
Yeah. Oh, I also have the forecast to do.
Wow.
I was geeking out this morning. It is 76. Somebody might hit 100 degrees. Now, the question, will it be in D.C.? I don't really think so, because here's the thing. The sensor where we log our temperatures is at Reagan National Airport, this little box right here on the southern end of one of the runways. When we zoom out just a little bit, you'll notice one thing. If you have winds out of the south, that's air off the Potomac, slightly cooler. Same thing with winds out of the southwest, so we need a westerly wind to hit 100 degrees. We kind of have a light west-southwesterly flow right now.
To break it down for us, Matthew, that looks kind of ugly.
Yeah, it definitely does outside. Couple little pop-up showers. They look darker than they actually are, thanks to, of course, the sun setting right now. But all told, earlier on, we got some beautiful sky scenes. This one from one of our favorite Fox 5 viewers, i.e. me on the rooftop here at Fox 5. So much science going on in this picture. Obviously, it's a double rainbow, but rainbows form at 42 degrees out from the anti-solar point, meaning if the camera is the sun, you go like this, you look right in the middle, 42 degrees out on all sides, so that's where the first arc forms. Then you get a second refraction of the raindrops. The second bow, the colors are reversed, and it's only about 15% the brightness of the first bow. In between, we call this Alexander's dark band, so it's brighter here than right over here because none of this light is actually refracted back towards the viewer. Cool stuff. Now, another neat thing, if we zoom in, you can actually see this rainbow goes down onto the grass. If you ever wondered, the rainbow can go all the 360 degrees. You have to be high enough up to see it. Now, for a lucky person earlier on, our friend Hunter, he was flying and landing at Reagan National Airport, saw the whole thing. So once in a great while, if you're up really high, a mountaintop, an airplane, you can see that full ring around the anti-solar point. Cool stuff there. Anyway, enough geeking out. Actually, oh no, wait, I have more geekery. This is a downdraft I got earlier on from the rooftop. So again, air goes up thunderstorms, it comes back down. As it comes down, it splatters out on all sides. See this little thing right here? We call this a rain foot. So the air goes down, fans out like this, gusty winds. Cool stuff there. So a couple storms likely later on tonight. Then it's nice, really the remainder of the week. And most of the storms are beginning to fizzle with the setting sun. Our overarching setup is this. A swirl of low. This air mass sticks around for several days. Now, where's the air actually coming from? Believe it or not, north of Greenland back on August 3rd, kind of wafted around up there, past near Nunavut, then near the Hudson Bay, eventually pushing down to our region. It'll stick around for at least the next 72 hours. So really, if you like the weather, thank a Canadian. So thank you, Canada. Great weather for us. Temperature
and 8 inches of snow. And we're off to a pretty good start. Matthew Cappucci's out on our deck this morning, 72-72 Wisconsin. Matt, we can almost barely see you. Snow's coming down.
Yeah, snow's coming down. Visibility is dropping right now. We've already got about a ½ inch on the ground. It's that thick, heavy, wet snow. That'll be the case throughout this morning. And then later on today, maybe a bit more fluffy as drier air works in the region from the west. One thing worth mentioning, though, yesterday we were in the 60s, so the ground temperature is warm, but you'll notice it's already accumulating on the deck. That'll be the same thing with the roadways, too, about I'd say 3-4 hours down the road, so something to watch there. We hit the maps. I'll show you exactly what's going on at this hour. This is the situation, frontogenesis, or basically forming a cold front at the mid-levels of the atmosphere just to our southeast. Warm, moist air rides up that. You have a lot of omega or uplift, and that generates thunder snow just to our northwest, as well as potential for 2 to 3 inch per hour snowfall rates in that heaviest zone in the blue right there. So the snow will come down, it will thump. Dry air from the west pushing in, kicking up all that moisture. A big low pressure system wrapping up and eventually pushing off the coast. That dry air later on tonight will induce clearing with temperatures falling back markedly. 20 in D.C., 15 for Little Manassas, 18 in Dulles, and 21 in Quantico. It could be the coldest night in about 2.5 years. Tomorrow, nice and clear, but still cold behind that front. 35 by lunchtime, only in the upper 30s for high temperatures. And then we watch this. So Wednesday, nice and clear, not too much going on. Thursday, bit of a transition day, a couple clouds around, and then watch this. More snow and rain potentially with a new system into early Friday morning. So winter does not want to quit. Things do get interesting. 7-day forecast shows we're watching that pretty closely on Friday. Cool and dry this weekend. Aaron, the roads are getting pretty rough right now, I imagine, in some spots. The snow's coming down. How are things looking? What are you seeing?
What's going on in the weather? We got rain here, but there's been some tornadoes that we've been dealing with across the country. Matthew, good morning.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Wisdom. Beautiful outside right now, but New Orleans actually got a tornado last night. Could have been an EF3 plus tornado with winds over 130 miles per hour. Now, here are those 2 rotation tracks, one parked right downtown in New Orleans, the other going right a little bit north of Lake Pontchartrain. This one narrowly missed the city. They could have got 2 tornadoes, instead only 1, but at least 1 person dead and several others injured. And the really creepy thing, they actually saw a debris ball on radar at about 7:32 p.m. That's all this stuff from people's homes and businesses lofted into the atmosphere. The radar beam bouncing off that, plotting it the same color as hail. Over here, we see something called spectrum width. That shows there are chaotic motions in the atmosphere. And down here, that's a debris ball once again on correlation coefficient, showing jagged shapes, not rain, not hail, instead irregular stuff like shrapnel. Very sad to see down there. Now for us, only a wet day, especially after lunch. The morning kind of cloudy. This afternoon, dreary, gloomy, not a great day to be outside. Good day to be inside with a book, maybe some soup, something like that. Netflix and just enjoy the afternoon. Right now it's 50 in D.C., 49 Manassas, 52 in Quantico, and 43 up in Martinsburg, 48 up in Panhandle, Maryland, up there in Cumberland. Otherwise, temperatures will be on the rise throughout the day, but not by all that much. Now, our radar right now, mostly quiet. This is all ground clutter, but off to our west, there's our big sprawling storm system, kind of tracing the shape of a comma. Cold front right here, warm front riding through later on. Cold, dry air wrapping in on the backside, and that clash gave us that severe weather. At least 2-3 dozen whatsoever, but I do have a quiz for you, so you can just barely see this over here.
Okay.
This is a little bit northeast of us right now, over near Baltimore, and you see a rapidly expanding ring of something. Now, you mentioned there's no rain. If you had to guess, what do you think this is?
Birds?
Yeah, I am impressed. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
It was?
Yeah, you're 100% right. This is what we call a roost ring. They have them over towards Delaware as well. Essentially, all the birds take off at once, they fly up, and the radar around sunrise picks them up. So, geez, I am very impressed. No one has ever got that before.
You know why I know this? Just years of experience, right? I think one time, years ago, someone probably had something like this similarly, and it was birds, and we were also surprised by it. So, I don't know, muscle memory maybe, I just remembered.
I have never been so impressed by an anchor. Anyway, congrats. I had like 5 slides ready to go, but anyway, I guess we'll get on with the forecast. There's some more down towards the Rappahannock region. Really cool stuff there, so roost rings. A fun way to start your day. Otherwise, the radar is quiet. No precip is actually falling. Couple high thin clouds thanks to low pressure skirting off the Carolina coast. Some rain down there towards the Outer Banks. I want to point out something really cool. We have a conjunction in the skies ahead between Jupiter and Venus. So look east early tomorrow morning and early on Saturday morning. You might notice those 2 planets bunched up together. Mars will be up there as well, and if you squint, you might be able to see Saturn. By the way, one other cool thing, I just have to geek out about this. Saturn has a jet stream shaped like a hexagon. How cool is this? What other planet has a jet stream like a hexagon? I love it. Anyway, 7-day forecast looks like this. 66 tomorrow, high in the Arctic. A little taste of fall that we're getting out there right now. So heavenly weather is coming this weekend. It's already here. It feels awesome. Radar satellite mostly quiet, but notice these cool little liney things over Prince George's County. These are actually, believe it or not, convective rolls. In other words, little rolls in the lower atmosphere that, because the air is dry, everything's invisible, there's nothing really going on, but within those rolls, from daytime heating are actually little bugs. So we're seeing bugs on radar trapped in the convective rolls. Cool stuff there. Otherwise, temperatures, and then watch this. We have enough cold air entrenched in the higher elevations off to our west that, yes, that is snow you see on the map and freezing rain in a mix. D.C., we're only rain, temperatures in the 50s, but way up here, Interstate 68, I do think you will be contending with some wintry weather. Honestly, I thought we were done, but apparently we're not. D.C. gets a good amount of rainfall, and off to our south and east, over the Delmarva Peninsula, maybe a rumble of thunder. So how much snowfall? About a trace to an inch off to our north and west, maybe 1 or 2 inches in the extreme northern part of the Panhandle of Maryland. Hard to believe that, yes, we are talking about icing as well. Bit of this in the Alleghenies, only about 1/10 of an inch of glaze, but something to be aware of if you're traveling off to the west. As for how much rainfall here in D.C., looks like a general 1/2 inch to an inch in most locales, maybe a bit more off to our west and also to our south and east, closer to the axis of heaviest moisture towards the water. Then late next week, we finally start to warm up again. High pressure shifts offshore. Has been enough so far to brew a couple of showers off to our west, but notice they're beginning to fade with the setting sun, and most cropped up over the mountains. They're trying to push east, not really doing so. There was one little shower pushing through Front Royal. One thing to note, though, that lightning strike right there, look how much it has jumped ahead of the storm, likely a positive flash bolt. You get these positive bolts that jump up to about 10 miles out of thunderstorms. That's why we say when thunder roars, go indoors, because these people right here, they're seeing clear skies to figure out what was going on, and that kind of launched this big investigation as to what that loud boom was. And it turns out my friend Peter Forrester looked at satellite imagery and found this, a lightning strike southwest of Winchester around 10:24 a.m. The question, though, there were no thunderstorms, so what was that lightning strike? Well, it turns out there was a meteor that exploded in the upper atmosphere, released an infrared amount of light, and that was something the GOES 16 satellite saw, interpreted as lightning, and that's why you could actually see it on satellite. Now, the other cool thing, too, my friend Chris went and looked at a bunch of different Raspberry Pi seismometers, basically little things that sense how much the ground moves, and found the signature of this boom. So basically, it produced like an earthquake-like signature that was felt far and wide across southwest Virginia. So something really amazing down there. 81 in D.C. right now, 79 in Dulles. No more meteors in the forecast tonight. All that we have, clouds and high humidity. Dew point is 70 right now. Couple showers out there at the moment. Just 1 or 2 out there. So much. I think the biggest thing that would be seaboard, which will stick around. But you want to talk about humidity, go down to the Lone Star State. They're dealing with extreme record flooding in Texas. Here's the big setup there. A stationary front just parked across the country, and as you have that, rounds and rounds of rainfall just rolling right along that front, dumping between 8 and 12 inches in Texas. And so far, they've seen extreme flooding. Now, they do need the rainfall. Dallas, Texas is under an exceptional drought, as is 29% of the state of Texas. But that said, they're out 11 inches behind. They got it all today in just 1 day's time. 15.3 inches, Mesquite, Texas. The entire metroplex suffering extreme rainfall and big-time flooding. Now, you might wonder, is this climate change related? Now, the weather is never caused by climate change, but it's catalyzed by climate change because of something called the Clausius-Clapeyron relationship. Essentially, every degree Fahrenheit the air temperature increases, the air can hold 4% more water. So suddenly, with some warming driven by climate change, you hold exponentially more juice in the atmosphere. Hence why they're seeing a ton of rain, and even parts of the Mid-South set to see about 7 more inches when all is said and done. Our 70 forecast looking like this: 87 tomorrow, 89 on Wednesday, 90s towards the middle of the week, only an isolated shower next weekend. All told, this forecast for August, pretty nice. Smooth sailing to work today. These are gravity waves, ripples in the sky. Many folks tweeting me saying they saw these all day long. And the reason is thanks to how stable the atmosphere is, meaning there's not much oomph to the north. Our radar satellite mostly quiet right now, patchwork sky overhead. But off to our south and west, heavy rainfall has come down in the Appalachians. Already close to about 6 or 7 inches worth of rain near Hazard, Kentucky in just the past little while. So again, Futurecast kind of shows what to expect. Temperatures about a mile up in the atmosphere in the 90s towards the midweek, and the humidity starts to build back in with dew points approaching 70. Now, I want to do some science this morning. What are dew points? Well, it's a measure of how much moisture is in the atmosphere. It's not linear, meaning follows this equation. We don't have to remember it. There will be no quiz. But essentially, as the air temperature increases, you hold exponentially more moisture in the air. And it follows something called the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. What that means, at 50 degrees, every cubic meter of atmosphere, about this big more or less, holds about 9.4 grams of moisture. So roughly the weight about 3 or 4 pennies. Suddenly at 59 degrees, 12.8 grams. And by the time you get to a dew point of 68 degrees, you're holding twice as much moisture, which is why it's so much more noticeable when the dew points approach 70 degrees. Relative humidity, of course, being how much moisture the air is holding in comparison to its capacity to hold moisture. 70 forecast looking like this: 81 degrees tomorrow, Tuesday, Manassas, and 46 in Quantico. Now, that system that's giving us all the cloud cover brought severe weather to parts of the deep south and Texas yesterday. The Lone Lone Star State, seeing 20 reports of tornadoes, including one that came very close to knocking out the weather radar in Fort Hood. A 100-mile-per-hour circulation just about 253 feet above the ground came so close to knocking out that radar, but didn't quite do it. Now, severe weather over the deep south today. Mississippi, Alabama seeing more tornadoes. For us, we get a bit of instability to our south tomorrow, kind of juice in the atmosphere, but most days to our south in central Virginia. So I think tomorrow. Anyway, I want to start off with something Valentine's Day themed. It's this, the Heart Galaxy, 7,500 light years away. NASA shared this picture taken by Adam Jensen. It's kind of cool because the whole thing glows in red thanks to excited hydrogen. That's in the constellation Cassiopeia. So one cool thing to start your day that is out of this world. Not out of this world, temperatures 28 in D.C., 20 Gaithersburg, 19 in Cumberland, the Panhandle, Maryland, 22 Hagerstown. It is frigid no matter how you slice it. Then we turn our attention to this feature. This is a second little swirl up here over the upper Midwest. Twin Cities right now seeing some light snow shower activity out of that. That will trigger a new low on a cold front off to our south and to our east. So the front is along us tomorrow, more downpours, but I think tomorrow is going to be kind of a convenient day with 9 to 5 downpours, meaning all the rain falls during the workday, and I'm optimistic things should be all right for the Nats. But you'll notice very sharp temperature gradient northwest to southeast because of where that secondary low sets up. So honestly, I have no idea what tomorrow's temperature will be. It could be 40s and 50s in D.C., could be 60s and 70s. So I think it might be one of those days where if you drive 20, 30 minutes, you'll probably change, I'd say 5, 10 or more degrees. Kind of a cool setup, but makes for a tricky call tomorrow. That said, any chance of thunderstorms well to our south and to our east over the northern neck and the Tidewater region, thanks to warmer air down there. So tomorrow, I'll show you guys this. Did you guys catch the sunset last night? It was stunning. We had these kind of picket fence shadows. We call these crepuscular rays. Now here's the thing. Where do they come from? Well, we can look at something called the sun calculation angle and see where did the sun set? And apparently it set from our vantage point over towards Ohio. Now last night there were actually storms ongoing over Ohio right around 8, 9 o'clock between our sunset times here in D.C., which is what cast those shadows 237 miles away. So essentially, we were seeing the shadows of distant thunderstorms more than 200 miles, so like a 5-hour drive away. Very cool stuff. And my buddy Andrew, who was in Athens, Ohio, actually took this picture of anti-crepuscular rays. So he was looking east. These are the same shadows that cast all the way to D.C. So very cool stuff. A little bit nerdy, but you're learning something new today. Right now, it is 81 here in the nation's capital, 81 Quantico, 75 Manassas, 81 Annapolis as well. It is pumping record heat towards Western Europe and the United Kingdom with temperatures reaching 115 in Portugal, 110 in Spain and France. And yesterday, Wales hit their record temperature for all time at 98.8. For the first time on record, the UK issuing this a red warning for extreme unprecedented heat. And they might actually hit 40 Celsius today or 104 Fahrenheit, which would beat the UK's all-time record of 101.7 set back in Cambridge in 2019. 7-day forecast looking like this. 96 degrees as we approach Thursday. Again, very hot day, maybe 1 or 2 showers. Behind it, we get no relief. 94 both weekend days early next week. Right now, I'll show you this. It's a really cool vision from South America. That is French Guiana. And you notice that little tiny speck? That is the James Webb Space Telescope that just launched out of French Guiana about an hour and a half ago. It is set to replace the Hubble telescope.